Fellow tennis nerds, I hope you are well. We are reviewing two new rackets from the brand Nordicdots. They released their first racket last year with the Model 99, which we really liked. And they have the Model 100, which is a racket that Henrik, who's often on the channel, Carl Adrian, who is often on Tennis Nerd 2, and a few other players I know have switched to. So that's a very versatile frame. The Model 99 is more of like an attacking player's frame, but they all possess good control. And here comes even more control in the form of two different rackets. There's the 98S, which is a bit more of a spin-oriented frame, pretty high launch angle. I would say it's somewhere between a Blade 1619 and an Aero 98. Has some stiffness to it, so you get some good power for a 98 square inch head size, 305 grams and 1619 pattern. In this case, it is strung with a hybrid setup here with their control string in the crosses and multi-filament in the mains. You can try different string setups. To accentuate spin, I would recommend their TS127 string, which is a very good spin-oriented string, but a little bit firmer, so maybe string accordingly. Nordicdots seem to really focus on creating like a pro stock feel in their rackets. That seemed to be the whole thing from Model 99, creating like really high quality, high modulus carbon frames without fancy graphics, very clean look, clean feel. And that's been the idea, and they've been very successful from what I heard. Many people liking their frames, like both 99 and 100. In the beginning, I was more of a fan of the 99, then shifted a bit towards the 100. And I think if I would pick one of my current Nordicdots favorite, it would be the 98 Pro. But we should start with the 98S. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit more open pattern. I think it would suit quite a few different types of players. But you need to be somewhat advanced. They are not huge sweet spots, very forgiving rackets. These are not a beginner to intermediate. I would say it's more intermediate to advanced on the scale of level you need to play with these frames. Sweet spots are like really felt, but can be a little bit harsher outside the sweet spot. And as always with the Nordicdots rackets, which is one of the nicest things, you have the specs on the box, so you can actually get really the spec you want. And if you talk to them before, I'm sure you can pick out a specification that you like, and they will keep track of every purchase, which is giving you that boutique experience that when you buy a second or a third frame from them, they know your specs and they will make sure you get the specs that you bought already. So that's really the like boutique luxury, which is a little bit their trademark, and I think it seems to work really well with the audience. These rackets are supposed to be their flagship product. It's the third racket from them, and it is a little bit more expensive than the previous releases. That was 225 euros. This is 245. You get a stencil with that, of course. The design might come in more colors later on, but this is called steel gloss. It looks amazing. I think it looks really cool. But obviously cosmetics are a personal thing, but in a day where there's a lot of different colors on the market and a lot of different cosmetics and limited cosmetics, it's nice to see a brand going completely the other way and saying, hey, you know, we're gonna do it clean and classy. And that's what I tend to like also with their apparel. It's nothing too fancy. It's just a clean, classy, good quality product, and that usually works quite well. So you have the specs here: 305 grams, 98 square inches, 1619 pattern, 32 centimeter balance, swing weight around 290, so 320 with strings, depending on what string and what thickness of string and so on you put. The 98S is more powerful than the 98 Pro. For me, I felt like I needed a bit of weight towards the sides to really make it a bit more plow through, but that's why I choose the Pro in the end, because I want the ball to go a bit flatter. I want to have more mass behind my shots, and that's generally the rackets I choose. This one, if you rip the ball, if you play and you like a higher launch angle, whether you hit it flat or loopy, doesn't really matter, but it's gonna produce a little bit of a higher trajectory, and it's gonna give you some pop, because it's like high 60s stiffness rating strung. So it does give you some power. No issues with the arm for me personally. I have not felt anything playing with these rackets. but I always try to string accordingly. I don't like to string polyester at like 55 pounds or 25 kilos because that usually leads to some arm issues with most frames. Spin, some power, but more focused on control. Does give you more pop than the blade, and a little bit less dampened feel. So if dampened feel is your bag, this is not the frame for you. Neither is probably the Pro. This is kind of like this Pro stock feel where you feel where you hit the ball in the string bed. That's the whole idea. From what I gather, that you should really feel the ball on the strings. And with some rackets today, they are quite arm friendly, and it's a good technology, and they tend to be more forgiving, while here you get feedback on where you hit the ball. A little bit more old school in that sense. Does look a bit more old school and does play a bit more old school. I do think it competes well with the Blade and the Radical. I would say the Blade and the Radical, two are the most best-selling racket lines for control players, and I think this one does a good job against them. I would say it's closer to the Radical in terms of power, and the Blade is a bit more dampened, a little bit more low-powered, while the Radical can pack a punch with the right string. And it's really a matter of taste, you know. I feel a bit more connected to the ball with this one, but it can also have a little bit more of a brassy sensation if I hit outside compared to some modern frames, like for example the Blade. The Radical also has that a bit of a tad brassiness when you hit outside. So I would say it's more in the Radical territory, more in the T-Fight 300 territory, and where there's also a little bit of a brassiness, a raw feel. And I think that's why many people like the T-Fights from Technifiber, because they went back to a little bit more of a connected feel. But of course, it can be feeling harsh to some. If you're hitting a lot off center, this racket is probably too difficult for you. So it's definitely more for the advanced player. But there's a lot to like. There's no funky string patterns, no funky gimmicks, and no weird technologies. It's just a pure good graphite racket, and looks as much. So I like this one, but it felt a little bit too brassy for me, for my game where I'm hitting more flat and I want more through the court stability and plow through. The Pro did a better job for me, but I know guys who much prefer this one because they play a lot spinnier and they like to whip more and they want to have a lower swing weight to start customizing and so on, and a little bit more open pattern for high launch. So not for me, but a good solid racket and a contender to 60, 90, 98 square rackets. There's so many of them, and you should probably go and try a few if you can. I would say the Radical, T-Fight 300, those are the two ones that I can compare it the most to. A little bit rawer feel like than a Blade, for example. Okay, we go to the Pro. This one I connected to really well straight away. I felt like this one had exactly what I'm looking for in a tennis racket. And 18-19 has been a pattern I've been talking about for years. You know, I like 16-20, 18-19 generally. I feel like the 18-20s for my game is too demanding in most cases. And I feel like I need a little bit more lift, but I don't want the 16-19 where on some shots I sail them. And I'm talking completely from a personal point of view, liking to attack, liking to get to the net, liking to hit the ball a bit flat and go for my shots, sometimes to my own detriment. But in this scenario, this racket works really well. So if we go through the specs a bit briefly, 98 square inches, 18-19, as I said, 310 grams, plus minus 5 grams quality assurance, which is good. But as I said, they are really user-friendly in terms of making you choose your specs. And a 315 millimeter balance, 31.5 centimeters. A little bit more headlight because you have more weight. So the balancing is a little bit more towards the handle. This is obviously with an overgrip. I've tried different strings. This is some new Yonex string I tried in it. I did like their TS127 also in this one. This one could maybe be even better with a natural gut or multi-hybrid than the S. But I wanted to try it as well there. Pinpoint precision, good on the slice. If you hit with enough of a semi-western or try to really get under the ball, you do get some spin, but the launch angle will be lower. Plusher feel on this one than the S, and especially the sweet spot is very sweet, and I think they nailed this in this layup. So this feels like a scalpel and delivers what you give to it, which is usually what I like in a racket, but it's not maybe always what I should use. I can get some more help from some rackets. In power level, it's not that far off running an ISO 98, so I would say definitely more T-Fight 305S, ISO 98, somewhere in between those two rackets. This one lands, and my friend Leah tried it. She doesn't usually like to try rackets, But she did really like that one, which was a bit surprising because she's usually a bit skeptical. She has her E-zones and she doesn't want to really switch from them. So, but she did like this one a lot, and usually when I give her rackets, she kind of gets pissed off at them or something. So yeah, this is a good racket. My favorite Nordicdots racket right now. I did like the Model 99, as I said. Drifted over to the 100 because it was more versatile, a little bit more forgiving in sweet spot, and that's still the case. The 100 is more versatile than this one, a little bit more forgiving in the sides. Here you get punished when you hit outside the sweet spot, but when you hit the sweet spot, it's very sweet. So that's kind of where I talk about pro stocks. It does feel like straight from the get-go, no customization. I've done 0 to this. Comes in at like 327 strung swing weight, which is perfect for me. It's what I like. 125 poly, and plows through the ball nicely. I feel like I can do any shot, and it suits my game really well. But I can see like spin players who want more whip, that would be a struggle. It's raw, a bit like the T-Fight. T-Fight is a bit more dampened even still, but this one has slightly more connected feel than the T-Fight even. So the T-Fight and this one, those are really an interesting comparison, and maybe I could play them side by side in an upcoming video. So if you're a T-Fight fan but you're looking for something slightly different and you like this design perhaps, this could be the racket for you, the Model 98 Pro. It was also Henrik's favorite. I can see players going from Radical Pro, Gravity Pro, rackets that are a bit demanding, but you do have that plow through. They can go to this racket. I could see that happening. Two interesting models. A clear favorite for me, the Pro. I think some other players who play with more spin might like the S a bit more, to get that higher launch angle and a bit more kick up in your opponent's face. That's usually what you like. Does a good job against the competitors. As always, you have to demo if you can, because it's a matter of feel and taste. Some people will love it, some people won't. The Pro is a racket that suits me, while might not suit some other players out there. So I'm just trying to give you my personal opinion. Is it a switch for me? It's hard to say. I do like many rackets out on the market right now. Played okay with the ISO 98, bit too dampen. I do like the T-Fight a lot, so I would play with these kind of side by side. I do like the Blade 98, 1619. Tough for me to say. I test rackets all the time, so it's usually the case that I show up with 3 different rackets for my week of tennis. But this was a very good one. I think their most refined racket yet, although the Model 100 seems to have its strong fan base. For me, this one where I straight away felt like, okay, this racket is for me. Some power, not too little, not too much, and the 18-19 pattern is tight, but it's not like you're not getting any spin on the ball, which I think is great. So Nordicdots, small brand, but super dedicated, and they really focus on quality control and delivering a good product. If you have any experience, please comment what you think about them, because I know people have questions, of course, because it's a new brand on the market. Maybe in the future we'll see if they can find a pro player or someone to sponsor. It's a nice boutique experience to deal with them, and clothes and rackets are good. So that's a thumbs up from me.
When we were trying them, I first thought that I was going to like the 98S the most, 1619 lighter weight, but then we were trying the 98 Pro, and that was the racket that we both actually liked more. Judging from the specs, the 98S would be the racket that I would play the best with, but when we were trying them, I played a bigger ball with the 98 Pro. 330 strung swing weight when we were measuring it on the Graffiti. Demanding rackets. It's not for maybe a beginner. You have to hit a big ball to play with this racket. It's a really good control. It's more predictable than, for example, the Nordicdots Model 99. Not the same effect maybe in the ball, but more predictable. It's suiting a more classical type of player that plays a flatter ball. For like a pro player, the 98 Pro would be a really good racket. The control is second to none. It's a raw feel in it, raw control. It's like a scalpel. That is how it feels, I would say.
Trying these out today, two quite different rackets. So the S is a 16 by 19. A no-nonsense racket. It is very good quality. You can feel it. You hit great shots with it, but you don't really feel the ball sink into the string bed that much. I think it's because it's a relatively higher stiffness, I believe, and you felt it. And that's a good thing. It reminded me of an old Yonex V-Core 98D, which a racket that I actually personally used. It didn't have a lot of technology, but you felt connected to the ball. Just maybe a little dull at impact and the sound, probably because of the stiffness. I think for this particular model, the S, I would have to add a bit of lead, probably at 12 o'clock, just to get a little bit more feedback and have the ball sink into the string bed a little more. But a really good racket. It didn't do anything amazing for me, you know, in my ground strokes or volleys, but it did everything well. Thought I would like this more than the Pro, and at first I did, but the more I played with the Pro, I actually liked it more than the S, which was surprising, but then perhaps not so surprising finding out that it actually packs a little bit more weight in the racket. 5 grams heavier, 2 more strings in the mains. It's 18 by 19, which is actually a really good string pattern. I actually got a fair amount of spin. Better comfort, I think, than the S, and quite powerful. Very good effort, great shape, no nonsense. It looks classic. I think the silver gray is a really nice paint job. They've done a good job. It's hard to know where this lands in the field of a bunch of 98 square inch rackets. It's the most competitive market. You've got blades, TF40s, radicals, all the headlines. I think it can sneak in there. I think it's got a lot of potential.
Hope you enjoyed the review and more racket recommendations. We have recommended rackets. We have content about choosing your racket, about recommended strings, everything you might wonder in the tennis gear jungle on tennisnerd.net. So please check that out. Please subscribe to the channel if you find this content useful. And if you don't find it useful, please give constructive criticism so I and the guys working behind the scenes can improve. That's it for today. Have a nice day and don't forget to play some tennis.